Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cop Council. How are we all? Hopefully, everyone's having a fantastic Monday, wherever you are around the world. And welcome back to a little bit of a different video today. Of course, it will be a little bit of a news episode to begin with, but yes, we are going to be talking about what is the main priority for Liverpool this summer. Now, of course, we've signed Dominic Szoboszlai and Alexis McAllister, but I think the big question is now is what is next for Liverpool Football Club? I think plenty of people umming and ahhing of what is next and what is needed for Liverpool in terms of do we need a third choice midfielder coming in, a centre half, maybe something else in the squad that we haven't already got. We'll be discussing all of those things in tonight's episode. But as you can see, I am joined by two very special guests. Obviously, Jack from the Anfield Road TV, and of course Spider from Spider LFC.
Happy
How are we,
six.
guys?
All good.
Oh, good.
All
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
man.
great. You can, you're right. No, the host always asks the question, how are you? We
Yes.
never ask you, Connor. How are you, bud?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm sad because Jordan Henderson might be leaving. Of course, that's
Oh.
going to infuriate Twitter.
Oh.
Anyway, no, I'm doing well, thank you, mate. And of course, hopefully everyone else is doing well in the comments as well. But yes, we are going to discuss Jordan Henderson and Stevie G. Of course, trying to take him from the mighty Reds. Of course, we are
Yeah,
gonna be
of
discussing
course.
that in this first bit of the episode. And like I said, we are then going to be looking about what is next for Liverpool in this transfer window anyway. But to dive straight into the news with Jordan Henderson, of course, now I know that a lot of people will be going, oh, it's a load of nonsense. Well, according to, I don't want to pronounce his name, but Tans, I'm going to say it as anyway, saying that Steven Gerrard wants to bring Jordan Henderson to Al Atafe, I think it is, this summer. And also, and this is taking a little bit away from Liverpool, slightly, of course, he wants to bring in Divock Origi as well, Liverpool legend Divock Origi. And by the looks of things, again, obviously Stevie trying to get the band back together. There's even talks of Sadio Mane even potentially having an offer on the table from Stevie G's football club as well. But Jack, on terms of Jordan Henderson, I think that obviously a lot of people reading into it. I think Neil Jones came out today on Redmen saying that the club internally, don't think he's going to be going anywhere. There's nothing at the moment that's suggesting that he will move this summer. But what was your first reactions to hearing the news of there being even a potential move for Jordan Henderson, and then the rumours of again the Saudi investments and Stephen G himself wanting Jordan Henderson potentially?
Yeah, it's one that's very much fueled debate on social media as well. All us three respect each other. We'll debate and disagree on quite a lot of things as well. But the absolute vitriol that has been on social media as well, absolutely disgusting. Everyone, and as we all know, everyone's entitled to opinions. I've said on record as well, countless videos. I think it's time to very much move Jordan Henderson on at the age of 33. I think even when I done my videos a while ago, I was saying give Jordan Henderson a contract as well. But at that time, I don't think any of us anticipated the absolute sheer drop off, not just of Henderson, but you look at Fabinho as well. The last 12 months, his form has been very alarming, to say the least, anyway. But yeah, it was, and you look at it now, was giving Henderson the 2-year contract extension the wisest decision? No, it wasn't. Because you look, obviously, his contract ends on June the 30th, 2025. So he's now currently 33 years old. Can he still do a job for Liverpool in the midfield? Yes. Can he do what Liverpool need and what he used to do in that Liverpool midfield? No, for me personally. The athleticism was the biggest thing last season, and fundamentally the quality as well. You look at the likes of McAllister, can play that sixth role. You look at Bajcetic as well, still young, will learn in that role, as you just alluded to in relation to Lavia. One that does fundamentally tick a lot of boxes. He's at a young age of 19 anyway, Lavia. If he was to come in, he's one that probably would massively jump ahead of the queue to Jordan Henderson. So, and the one thing I don't really like in relation to Henderson as well, you look at Steven Gerrard. Gerrard knew his time to go. You look at Bobby Firmino, knew his time to go as well. But what we all love, every Liverpool fan, we all love Henderson, but I'm hoping Henderson is very much of the same ilk that Fabinho did a couple of months ago. He knew his time was up, and I don't want it to get absolutely sour. Henderson should know himself that it's time for him to move on, but there's ways of going about it as a football club and as a fan base for me. So yeah, not that I'd like to see him go, but I think his time is very much up at Liverpool. And we are in places. Our age profiles of team has very much drastically been reduced as well, with the new signings coming in, Milner leaving the football club. But let's not forget the great stuff that he done for this football club. He is, I think, from people my age as well, 28 years old, he brought everything, along with Jurgen Klopp and along with the other players. But he was our captain. He was my captain, really, to helping Liverpool being successful in this period under Jurgen Klopp as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100% agree. And I think, Kev, to lose both Jordan Henderson and James Milner in one summer, of course, we talk about in terms of, like as Jack mentioned, in terms of on the field. I think obviously Jordan Henderson, I thought we're all hoping that he's not blinded by his past comments of what he said he thinks he's a starter for Liverpool. I think everyone can see that, yes, he can help Liverpool in the midfield, as Jack alluded to, but I think everyone knows that he's far off being a starter for Liverpool next season onwards. But I think just in terms of leadership, I think in terms of losing both Jordan Henderson and James Milner in one summer would be catastrophic for Liverpool, behind the scenes and in the dressing room in particular. But what were your thoughts, Kev, on the rumours, the same as Jack? What was your thoughts of the whole links of Jordan Henderson leaving Liverpool and going to Qatar with Steven Gerrard?
Well, as a person who's not 20 yet, I'm almost 23. And
you're lucky, Kev.
No. Listen, I've been around. I've seen a few captains now at this stage. At the ripe old age of 41. But look, Jordan Henderson is a fantastic player for this club, a fantastic servant for this club. If you're asking me would I get rid of him now out of the team, no, I'd keep him on that bench. If I had a choice, I would move Thiago on and make more money off him, and reinvest it into the squad. As good as Thiago is, he hasn't given a speck of what Jordan Henderson has given for the club, and I get the hype around Thiago. I get how good he can be when he's on his game and how good he is on the ball, but he pretty much delivers nothing for Liverpool as a football club in a whole. We weren't in the season where he probably had the most games he's been able to play in a season for Liverpool. We didn't win anything. We didn't get close to winning anything. He spent most of the time, even though he played his most amount of games, he spent most of the time on the bench or and right now he's still injured. So look, I'm done with players that are injured. Taking 180 to 200, 220k a week on the bench, just those funds could be split, given to Lavia there at 100 and 120 a week. You could bring in another fella, easily. My admiration for the lad from Feyenoord, David Hanko. I like him. I like his speed like that. You could bring him in easily and pay him 80k a week, what Milner used to get paid. And he's, 25, 26, something like that. And bring him in as a cover player as well. And that's two players right there covered by one person's wages who's never available. So I'd 100% keep Henderson if I had a choice between him and Thiago. I know how gifted Thiago is, lads, and I know some of the chat might disagree with me. I know, but he's never available, and that's the thing for me. And if there's more availability out of Jota as well this season, that'd be great, because he's a fox in the box really when he gets going. But if these people that are not available anymore, if they can be replaced by bringing the average age down and somebody is available, this is why I said I wanted at the time I would take Mason Mount if we're getting rid of what's his name, Keita and Ox, because he's just available. He's never injured. So that's what I was thinking that time. But I would keep Hendo just for his control in the team, and he's our captain. He's lifted nearly everything with us, bar the Europa League in May. So I'm just putting that out there, by the way.
Yeah.
And for me, he's more integral to the side than Thiago is.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think certainly with Thiago as well. I think obviously there was a report today that he's finally in the final stage of his rehab at the current moment as well. But again, I think as I'll get into the comments in a minute, but I think Wicks used it perfectly. Again, he is a luxury player that was meant to come in and only play the big games, or to play, not so much the majority of games, but the games where we were maybe, struggling in a low block, or against Manchester City or Champions League game, for example. And it hasn't worked. Again, I think we've mentioned it on different videos in terms of Thiago, going a little bit off topic a little bit, but in terms of Thiago, we moved away from what made Liverpool's midfield, Liverpool's midfield. And of course, it didn't work. If you want to call it an experiment, didn't work. But in terms of Jordan Henderson, I agree with the two of you. I think for me, I think he's so crucial at the minute. Of course, I think in the next year or two, I think he will leave the club. Whether that be if Liverpool lets him run down his contract, or whether Liverpool will sell him, I think that's another question itself. But I think personally, I think of course he gets that right to do it as well. And him to speak down with Jurgen and the club, and not just be forced out. You look at somebody like a David De Gea at the minute at Manchester United, who's just been thrown out the club practically. Which
it's what I was going to say there, boys. Fundamentally, fans as well, all of us, we buy into the notion of football club as well. We're not just a Chelsea. We're not another team in Europe that massively disrespects the club, like disrespects the players. That's one thing. When you are a Liverpool fan, you buy into the ethos as a football club as well. I do personally. I don't know how other people feel, but it's about how you respect players, how the players go on that pitch and perform to their highest level as well. We spoke about Coutinho when he left. Klopp said it himself. These fans will regard you as one of the greatest legends to ever grace the pitch, in terms of the young fans as well. You will go down in Anfield folklore. Stevie Highway still gets sung about as well. And songs get echoed from every single stand and get echoed all around Europe with the amazing Travelling Cop. Every single European adventure you go on as well. When you come to Liverpool, and if you're very successful, you're very lucky to be a very successful player at Liverpool. Not every player is. But for me, there's ways of supporting Liverpool. You don't just hop on Twitter and absolutely destroy a player. Of course, every fan will critique a player. I have critiqued players in the past as well. I wasn't the biggest fan of Ox. I wasn't the biggest fan of Naby as well. But you wish them all the best. Pat them on the back. Happy days. Thank you for coming to the club. But if you're very special like Jordan Henderson, he's the captain. He's captains us to a Champions League final, Premier League title as well. Everyone might go, oh, it was just Jurgen Klopp and all that. But as a whole facet, as a football club, everything comes into...
He bought it to the ideology, didn't he, Jack? He did. And if he goes by the parts, one second. Sorry, just to jump on Jack's thing there, you have to look at just the songs that have been sang after a player leaves. And if Jordan Henderson comes back to that club and sits in the stand, somebody's singing his name. If Luis Suarez comes back because of the way he left, if Coutinho comes back the way he left, Michael Owen the way he left, or these people come back, their names don't get sung in the cop when they come back. They get a clap or they get a round of applause. But these lads like Jordan Henderson and your Salas and all, their names, like your Stevie Highways, all of these guys, they get sung in the stands when they return. And that's the difference between how you buy into an ethos or an ideology at Liverpool and how you just, be a part of it and then move on from it. Jordan Henderson is an epitome of that. So
I think as well what people to forget about Jordan Henderson. I think people forget he was Player of the Year when we won the league. That's how important he was for Liverpool. We wasn't talking about Virgil van Dijk, but we wasn't talking about Van Dijk or Salah. We were talking about Jordan Henderson being the pushing point in terms of the crucial moments. Again, it's not like you look at when we won the league by winning 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, and in those tight, close games where you need the nitty-gritty midfielders to get in the game and of course, win you the game, I think, as well.
And everyone forgets that season where he got sent off
Yeah,
in Manchester City.
That cost us the league for me.
Yeah, like everyone goes on about Gerrard slip. Him
No,
getting sent off, he was one of the most informed midfielders in all of Europe. Like what he offered in terms of likes as well, that period. We could be talking about 2-3 league titles as well if football in another parallel universe, Liverpool won about 5 Prems in the last 5 years. But yeah, he has been tremendous. And it's not just on the pitch as well, though, lads. It's off the pitch as well. If you asked every single Premier League manager, would you want Henderson in your team or within your squad, they'd bloody snap your arm off for them. And let's not beat around the bush as well. Like everyone might go, well, whatever. No, in terms of what he offers the club, in terms of look at what he done for the NHS as well, in terms of he's massively regarded within English football in terms of the captaincy as well. He's the lead captain. I think he's top of the table in relation to when anything gets brought up about the Super League as well, or he got all the captains in a WhatsApp group and got everyone together. That's how much high esteem and high regard over captains in the Premier League respect him, and managers as well.
I think that Aspilicueta called him the captain of captains. I think
yeah, he is.
About the NHS.
So it's not just on the field as well. It's about representing Liverpool as well, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% on that as well. And of course, guys, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments as well. Of course, I can already see a couple people in the chat already. Obviously, hi Doug, as well as evening all. Blocks the Henry the Saudi as well. Yeah, absolutely. Italia all been Taram's a must. Taram's dead in the water now. Gary. Wigson as well, saying evening lads. Hello, Wigson. Doing well. One would sell Hendo. How has been a great servant, but Liverpool need a dynamic midfielder like Thuram or Kone, says Gary. Wiggs is saying if we are to sell one, it should be Thiago this summer. Henderson still played 23 games last season. He can still have a part to play. As for Thiago, 1 year left, injury prone as well. I think we've all agreed on that. As well, but we are in a rebuild. We can't afford to lose Henderson and Milner in the same window. We need that experience in the squad. Yeah, absolutely, 100% with you on that, Doug, as well. Obviously, Biggs talking about 200k a week luxury isn't what we need. We can sell and buy a hungry midfielder for half of that wage. I think we could probably buy 2 midfielders with that wage as well. Not only one. I think we could buy 2.
That's what I was saying about Hanko and Lavia. Both of them, that wage would cover both of theirs.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, check some pick up chat as well. Yeah, big thank you to all you guys as well. Obviously, hit that like button. I'll go over to Anfield Road TV and Spider LSC as well, obviously, and the Kitman as well, I should say. Go and subscribe over to all the channels as well.
Give you that 10, Lisa. So good.
I know, right? The price is getting 20.
Oh, bloody hell.
What's that? It's double price.
I have to rethink that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But hello, Jack, as well, says Doug. I agree, Kev. Thiago is quality, but we need players available and on a lesser wage as well. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Wiggs needs I need to do a pods with you guys this week. I'm off for a week. Just let us know, Doug, and we'll let you know. Talio Dougie as well. Hi to Gary. Quickly scroll down because the stream. I hate it when StreamYard does that. It just goes all the way up and then all the way down sometimes, where you just want to read one particular comment as well. But Doug saying could be worse. We could be signing Ashley Young, of course. Yeah, Everton signing him on a free, Doug. As far as I know, but again, good quality for Prem experience. But again, I'm not entirely sure on that. No one in football can do what Thiago does. He needs to be managed better game-wise as well, says Chrissy. I think it's a bit mixed with Thiago because, again, I think he's been perfectly managed at Liverpool, but again, it's also the sense of like last season, it was Thiago was the only fit left-sided midfielder, and then when he Rana, we ended up playing Bicetic there, and then look how good Bicetic worked out in the end as well. There's still plenty of potential there. We simply haven't been at the same midfield since Genie left. I agree, absolutely 100%. The problem with Thiago is he's good. He's made a wheat off wafers as well. It says
Wafers.
Wafers, is it? Sorry. I just say off. I just said WAF, but it's right, Gary Mack. To every Euro away as well. Well, to be fair, speaking of Gary Mack, and maybe I know obviously Alexis McAllister, obviously everyone's back tomorrow as well.
Hey! Can't wait.
It's only, I think it's only. I'm trying to think who isn't they. You guys.
The young lads as well. Elliot and Jones probably get a little break as well because they've
a couple of weeks.
I think
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Hendo, our leaders versus Daryl. Anderson saying, hello lads, haven't had a good day to be honest. People just really low. Hendo, one that's loads for us. Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. Hopefully doing well though, Andrew, as well. We will get Lavia and a centre back. That's the hopeful dream.
Hopefully. Yeah,
of course, we'll get into that in a brief moment as well. Obviously, thank you, Doug, for the link to the Kitmen as well. Arctic Gaming's in as well, saying that spider fella is handsome and knows his stuff. Jack agree.
Yeah. Very false.
If any L'Oreal adverts would like to hire this man, you can do. That's all. That's all Kev needs now is a top hat and one of the whiskey beer. I think that's it. Anyway, but we will get into the next topic then of the show, and of course we are going to be talking about, of course, what is next for Liverpool in this transfer window. Now, of course, the whole rumours with Lavia is spreading like wildfire. Of course, I think just before coming on here, there was talk on social media that Lavia has handed in his transfer request, or told Southampton he wants to join Liverpool this summer, of course, which is probably what Liverpool needed to do to activate it and progress the situation a bit more forward. But just taking a quick look at the squad as a whole, of course, I've got this mapped out for you guys. I'll quickly make it full screen as well, so you guys can see it and I can see it as well. But of course, this is the squad depth then for Liverpool at the present moment in time. Now, of course, this is before, even if anyone does go. Of course, obviously, there's no Nat Phillips there because I think Nat Phillips might be gone by the end of this week as well, which is good news for Nat Phillips in that sense as well. But Jack, just taking a look at that squad, and looking at the squad depth, are you seeing anything there where Liverpool need to improve this summer? Just taking a quick look at the team.
Centre half, mate. You can't be playing fullbacks as centre half. Like, unless you are getting a centre half or a fullback that is very adept at playing centre half anyway. But for me, you look at Costas, not a centre half. Robbo, not a centre half anyway. And I think we've seen the defensive lapses as well, in all honesty. Last year, as much as Robbo loved to go forward, there was always, I think everyone pinpoints a lot of the frailties down Liverpool's right-hand side, but I'd caveat that with the exact same issues down Liverpool's left-hand side of our defence as well. Once we switched to that three-back system, of course, performances did pick up, but it's not always going to be as plain sailing if Liverpool are going to go into that 3-box-3 formation as we see in the back end of the last season. Whether Liverpool go to a 4-3-3, the usual 4-3-3 with our new signings, potentially we might go back to that, especially if we have a very capable, physical, ball retention midfield as well that is able to control a game and run teams off the park as well. Me and Kev have just done a podcast with Owen and we spoke about that on the Cop On podcast as well, so check it out. But yeah, definitely, mate. I think if Liverpool do sort the midfield out, it's going to be interesting. And I think one thing that we hope for next season is that we can play a variety of systems, whether it be a 4-4-2, with obviously Szoboszlai can play as a right midfielder as well. And we know the players, they're very adept. But I think for me, if Liverpool are going to go to that 3-box-3 formation, as we did see last season, I don't think Andy Robinson or Kostas Tsimikas in that left-hand side of the midfield, back three is the best advised situation. I'd much rather see a proper centre-half or a centre-half that can very much play left-back or is very versatile, but mainly the priority is, for me, is a centre-half that can just do what centre-halves do in terms of ball retention as well. Steps out from the back, plays from the back as well, very capable. But yeah, definitely more like a Nathan Ake type, someone that can play left-back, but can play centre-half as well, fundamentally. But there's not many Nathan Akes out there at the minute in terms of that quality. So.
Well, we've got a couple on the list, of course. I know there's obviously it's a vast in price range. I think now, of course, we're going to get Kev speaking about, of course, one centre half in particular, because again, I'm not sure, and I haven't seen too much on the fella that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I think obviously the names that have got mentioned, I think over the last couple of weeks, of course, Levi Colwill, obviously the main one at the minute in terms of Liverpool news. Now we know that's more or less not going to happen unless Levi Colwill blatantly comes out and goes that, again, I don't want to play for Chelsea, I want to leave the club this summer. I think Fabrizio Romano, I think we talked about it yesterday, didn't we, guys, about I think 80 million would be the asking price.
That's Chelsea a lot of money, that. Like,
Well, I think somebody said in the chat, like, again, you're looking at a 40 million pound player, but because of it being Chelsea and English tax and all the other bits and pieces with it, 80 million does look the fee, which again I think is overpriced massively. But obviously Gonzalo Inacio as well is another one that has got mentioned. I think even Fabrizio Romano mentioned yesterday that Liverpool have taken a look at him and watched him a few times along with Manuel Ugarte, last season in terms of the scouting report as well. But also as well, one guy in particular that, again, I don't know much about as well. Obviously, Kev, you'll know more about him. But could you tell us, who that big, tall, I think, final centre half is?
Yeah, get that share screen up there, Lav goes.
Yeah, it's did you put it there? Oh yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's David Hanko. He's with Feyenoord at the moment. He's Slovakian. What I like is his recovery pace, but as you can see, the percentiles on him is ridiculous. No, I've been watching him for a bit, and I didn't even look at these stats when I was looking at it. I only just found these in the last couple of days about him, but I said it's just his recovery pace alone for getting back and tackling and winning the ball back is fantastic. As you can see, he's not a DM, where he can play the DM role, but he's not a DM, so he doesn't need to be worried about interceptions or well, the main thing is blocks, because he doesn't let a shot get off, so he tends to tackle and run a person to the byline before he gets a chance to cross it or block it in, or he wins it shoulder to shoulder before anybody gets that chance. Or mainly his main let's say trait is his ability to outpace anybody he's going up against as a defender as well. So for me, you bring him in from Feyenoord, and if you're looking at somebody that's not immediately going to be he'll challenge anybody who's in the back line, Matip or Gomez, because we have Kanate and Verge as our main guys. But if there is going to be a 3-box-3 set up and you want the left-sided centre-back, he is left-footed as well. And he'd be a perfect addition on that left-hand side of Verge, and leave Verge just sit in the centre. And just leave Verge do what he does, which is clear the ball out of the box, use his stride to step in on players, while this guy will just chase you down. He just reminds me of a taller version of Andy Robbo, but he's much more adept to tackling and getting in front of a player and shoulder to shoulder tackles and winning the ball back. I know a lot of you are going to be looking him up on YouTube, whatever like that, but if you just check him out, his speed is phenomenal. His positional sense is great, and even when he's let down by his teammates, he tends to get back and makes great recovery tackles, kind of like what we've seen with Verge before his pre-injury. But Verge is not back to his best yet because of that injury. We might never see him back to his best, but at least having a guy like this alongside him that can do that kind of work for him will just bring the best out of Verge in what he can do, which is, get the ball out of the box clear, bring it down, control that back line, and watch it from either side of him, which would be fantastic for him if he doesn't have to worry about that left-hand side too much, especially if you're playing Robbo a bit further forward into the midfield, if in these kind of formations, if he's not even on the pitch, you're still going to have your Alexis McAllister's there, or your Fabinho's right in front of him. So look, there's great cover offs, but David Hancock for me would be one of the guys that we should, as Liverpool, if you're going to look at a guy. The only difference is that his age, was he 25, 26? Is it? So
Yeah, 25.
25. So, it's probably a bit older than what Liverpool would go for a player like that, but you pick him up at a steal. I mean, he's easily about 20 million, 25 million, in that market. So from Feyenoord, easily pick him up. 25 plus add-ons, 15 add-ons maybe, if we ever reach it. But that's a guy I would go for.
Okay. Obviously, I'll have to take a bit more look at him personally. And I'm just looking now at his scouting report as well. Passing wise, again, he's in the top. I'm just looking at it now. He's in the top 5% of defenders in terms of passing, and so on. Again, just judging from his whole passing stats, well, he does look very decent at what Liverpool need, especially on that left side of centre half as well. I think what Liverpool needs is I think you mentioned, Kev, in terms of playing alongside Virg. I think what Liverpool need is someone that will play at the moment left side, left of Virgil van Dijk, but then will also take over Virgil van Dijk if Liverpool need to go back to the 4 or even go into the centre of defence anyway. But Jack, for you, who would obviously we talk about centre back being the one, but for you, is there any particular player that you would love Liverpool to sign this summer in terms of a left-sided centre half, or do you have any different players in your mind?
I think Kev's is a absolutely fantastic shout. One that I've seen quite a fair bit is obviously just come from back from a Champions League final as well. Bastoni. I really like him as a centre half. I think he's 24, 25 years old anyway. And I think when you look at statistically, if you just want to bring that up, Con, in terms of his attributes as a centre half anyway, he's in the top 1 percentile in terms of assists and expected XG as well. But in terms of quality, I think, as Kev just alluded to there, I think Bastoni would be a player. I think the one main stumbling block potentially would be in terms of Bastoni. We know the Italians are masters of defending, really. I've been in the last 20, 30 years, well, in the history of football anyway. But Bastoni, left-footed centre half, comes in with probably a hefty price tag, but comes in with the quality and the experience. Another one really to throw into the mix as well is another left-sided centre half, and he plays for Bayer Leverkusen, and that's Piero Hincapié as well. He's only 21 years old. I don't really want to bring that up there, Con, as well. But when you look in terms of very raw potential, but when you go over to what Bayer Leverkusen are very much used to in terms of playing a system of a 3-4-2-1 formation, and as Kev alluded to before, if Liverpool are going to be going into that box formation, it will very much see, obviously, not the best game to bring up because Hincapié got sent off. But in terms of where he does facilitate in terms of that Bayer Leverkusen, he is a left-sided centre half. Obviously, Tapsoba, who's been heavily linked with Tottenham in recent weeks as well. He's another capable centre half. But there is options there, boys. That's the thing. Liverpool in recent years, not to say we got bullied, but I think if Liverpool did want Levi Caldwell, if you went to him, I think it'd massively require him to put in a transfer request. It'd have to be below value because 80 million, as we've said, boys, that is 2 centre halves. That's 2 class centre halves. Very much that you could bring into the football club, in all honesty. It's a lot of money for a centre half, of course, the age, the profile, people are like, oh, potential and all that. But I'd expect, I'd like to see another proper full season under his belt, Levi Caldwell, for Liverpool to pay 70, 80 million pounds anyway for me, mate. You look at Virgil van Dijk, the experience in which he garnered at Celtic, played extremely well at Southampton, hence why we signed him for a big fee. It's not just a case in point of when we bought Virgil, he's what age, 25, 26 years old or similar age there. Like, he come in, but let's not forget Virgil was playing out absolutely outstanding for that Southampton side anyway, hence why we probably broke the rules to really get hold of him anyway. And rattled Southampton so much that they were there putting complaints in for us. But, mate, yeah, there is options out there. And yeah, it's a massive key point that Liverpool we can't really sleepwalk into in terms of. But yeah, for me, there's options out there.
I think that we have to be a bit ruthless as well. We've seen
Mm.
how the midfield have gotten. Like I think over
Mm.
because I think our last, obviously Ibu being our last centre back signing, but I think the one before that was, I'm trying to think. Obviously, if you take Virgil out of the consideration as well, I think obviously you've got what you're going back to, Lovren, Clavan even, I think, as well. You're going back to with Liverpool centre halves, but obviously I know Joe Gomez as well. But obviously Joe Gomez was signed as an 18-year-old at the time, and a left back as well, to be fair. But for me, I think that I absolutely agree with you too. I think obviously I'll have to give a watch that player that you mentioned, Kev. I think that is a good shout, judging from the statistics. I think again though, as you mentioned, Jack, there is plenty of value. I think in terms of a centre back as well. Of course, if you guys got any suggestions as well, let us know in the comments as well. But moving on and talking about DM then, or that third choice midfielder. As of now, of course, obviously the man of the hour is, of course, Romeo Lavia, that is constantly getting spoken about in terms of a potential move to Liverpool. Of course, I think a lot of people, I think, now under the understanding that it would be Szoboszlai and it would be Thuram, and then it would, of course, be Lavia potentially and Coney potentially in terms of that as well. But Kev, have you got anyone in mind for DM? I know that, of course, Lavia might be for you as well. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Lavia is a great shout. I said at the beginning of before the end of last season. I like to look, see, because I'm all about what Klopp does. Klopp doesn't buy big unless he needs to buy big. So obviously, is definitely one that came out of left field. McAllister's a World Cup winner, so it's unusual that we buy that kind of. He normally goes maybe big with one player and a few small buys or something like that. Lavia can be considered an expensive small buy if you want to go that way, but he is a future star, and he is one I would look at. But I also looked at Youssef Fofana from Monaco, who's another high quality DM as well, and he's been bossing it there for quite some time. I mean, he kind of came in and replaced Fabinho at the time, and he's been doing it well. I know about the age. I don't know what the age he is at the moment, but I'd have to have a look at that. He's got nothing to do with the other Fofana at Chelsea either. They're completely different people, or not even of the same family. But no, he's been playing well there. Even looking at Hanko as well, he can also play that position if need be. Left-hand sided CDM. So if we wanted to bring him in and bring in another versatile player, he's another guy that you could play there in that position if we revert back to the 4-man backline and needed somebody to come in and cover for Fabinho. As I said in Owen's stream earlier, Owen thought I meant that I would play Henderson in there. I just didn't want to have to rely on playing Henderson in there like Klopp has been doing for the last, I don't know how long. And he was quite right in pointing out these bad stats, which is, we don't want to be dependent on that, lads. Let's not be putting plasters and duct tape over positions anymore. Let's get people that can cover positions solidly and that are available when need be. I'd rather have somebody with match fit, match fit issues rather than somebody who's just not available through injury. So everybody can play themselves into match fitness by just playing a couple of games and throwing a cup game and a few substitutions together in a couple of weeks. So let's get that type of player, please, and not somebody who's unavailable. Lavia, I would take in a heartbeat if we could. I'm pretty sure that I think there might have been genuine interest in Kone, but I think the whole Thuram situation was a bit of a smoke screen for Szoboszlai. So that's done and dusted. So anybody thinks we're getting Thuram or not, he's going to go elsewhere. And I think they're just watching what Kone is doing with that injury. But for me, I would have Lavia all day over any of them because we need a proper CDM. We don't need somebody who can possibly play as a CDM and then somebody who can, maybe be a box-to-box or central midfielder. We already have those. I would take that, and, with regards to Henderson, he's going to come off the bench and he's going to, bring some stability into a team. If they're a little bit shaky on the pitch, he'll knock them into gear, even if he's not, as sharp as what he used to be. But we can say the same about Milner. The guys look after themselves. Hendo looks like an absolute beast in his pre-training this season. He looks in fine. Yeah, he is. He looks in brilliant condition, and I want to see Henderson lifting the only trophy that he's missed out on so far, which is the Europa League. Not a trophy that we normally associate with ourselves for the last few years, but it's available now for him. So let him go and win every single possible trophy he could. So let him lift it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think for me, Jack, I think one player that I think I mentioned, I think yesterday, I think in your show, for me, the one player that I want in particular, as hopefully this will show right now, is of course Florentino Luis. He's one guy for me that I love. I think watching him for Benfica, obviously DM. I think what's also obviously good in that sense as well is when you actually compare the player that he's comparable to Fabinho as well, which is good and bad probably in that sense over the last year as well. But is there any DM in your mind apart from Lavia? If there is any out there that you would like to see at Liverpool, I know that obviously I think everyone's dream, if money wasn't a problem, might be Saicedo or someone like that. But
Yeah.
what would be your ideal third choice midfielder, DM, or another midfielder coming in the door at Liverpool for you?
Yeah, I think statistically, I think that's what Liverpool have done. In all honesty, mate, you look at the data; it's there. We've got some of the best data people in football, as we know. I think you look into the data and the graphics there; it's looking at you in the face. For me, it would be Saicedo in terms of my top, but that just goes to the point that we've spoke about last 10, 15 minutes ago. It's crazy money in terms of when you look at Levi Caldwell, a lot of money, very talented player for the future. Don't be wrong. But when you go down a bracket in terms of you go Saicedo, I think Lavia is very close to him, in all honesty. But if you're getting him at 50 million, hence why City did buy him as a youngster as well, you don't end up at Manchester City by chance. That's something that Pep Guardiola has strenuously looked at and said, potentially, could you come into Liverpool? Obviously, he used to play for Anderlecht as well in terms of Vinny Company. Big shout out to him in terms of the relationship he's had with Manchester City in the past as well. So, yeah, he's a player that ticks all the boxes. 50 million looks a lot of money, but in today's climate, that's the going rate for young players at that age. Anyway, I still think 50 million at first initial, but if you get 10, 12 years out of bloody Lavia and he performs really well, it looks like pocket change in all honesty. You could look at it like the way we looked at bloody Andy Robinson in all honesty. But it's a specialist position, the 6. And as we've already spoke about, if we can sort the midfield out, I think it massively alleviates those defensive issues as well for me, mate. But hugely talented.
Do we think if sorry, Jack, if it is Lavia that does come in, do we think that he's a rotation option straight away for Fabinho, or do we think he's going to be taken? The development of Lavia will be taken a lot slower in terms of maybe next year we'll see the best, or maybe start to see Lavia next year.
Massively depends on Fabinho, what Fabinho we get. Because if Fabinho's playing the best football that we know we can do, but that's what best teams do in terms of squad depth. Liverpool need great squad depth through every position in the pitch. You look at Manchester City, yes, they're a freak, but they've got quality in all areas as well. The great Barcelona sides as well. Every top team, look at Bayern Munich when they've been playing top song. They've had players that they can rotate, but I think Fabinho is probably the biggest question mark in relation to what Fabinho we get. Me and Kev were speaking to Owen there. If we get Fabinho playing well, it's great. You've got Lavia layering off Fabinho, and you're just used to let's Trent move forward a bit more. But I think, as Kev alluded to before, top of the show, no more what ifs. More, we've got the players in now that we can play. We can rotate. Imagine bloody rotating, and especially if we are playing well in the Premier League and we hit the ground running as well. You've got that interchange and passing as well. So I think the team, as we know, on a match day picks itself when they're all in form. But if they're not in form, like we did see last season, you've got a Lavia to bring in, and it brings out the best of Hendo, brings out the best of all the midfield players anyway for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you are right. I think out of all the squad, Kev, I think I think Jack is right in terms of. I think Fabinho is the biggest question mark. I think as well the biggest question mark is how. Well, first of all,
I think
how.
Fabinho was left down last season by the rest of his midfielders. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like,
I don't think the lads were. He was tired himself, but I think everybody else was just. They weren't helping him. They weren't backing him up. He was running around like a headless chicken. He was getting bypassed left and right because nobody was in their position covering him. When Thiago comes on, he doesn't get back enough. When Elliot comes on, he'll run around in front of the players in the middle of the park, but he won't get back and tackle. So it's just not his position. It's not what he does. Curtis Jones seemed to do it a little bit at the back end of last season. It's only when Trent moved into that inverted six, or the inverted, sorry, I should say, the inverted right back, that you saw the Fabinho's game up again, where he was making tackles, he was making interceptions. He didn't have a lot to worry about on the side. He was still tired. The season had broken him, and I think look, there's still a really good player in Fabinho. He's, you can't just kind of write him off because he's had a weak season. You have to give respect to the guys that are there as well at the moment, because especially the guys that have been through since the very first Champions League final that we got to under Klopp. These guys that have been around since that team and got themselves, Van Dijk was only in there 6 months at that stage when you think about it. You'd Fabinho coming in, you'd Ali wasn't even in the team yet because he didn't come until the following season, so these guys have been here and helped the team on drastically since the beginning. They've played every single game. They were hardly ever injured. When we needed them in defence in 2021 season, when we ended up getting third because we had no midfield. I mean, him and Henderson dropped back into the back lane, even though it's not their positions. They dropped in there and played game after game. But look, for me, Fabinho does need help in there. I don't want it to be Bajcetic. I want Bajcetic to grow, but I want him to grow in cup games. I want him to grow and come on in substitute appearances and replace guys in the middle of the park if we need to give Fabinho a rest and the likes of this. If Lavia comes in, then that'd be great. But and yeah, to answer Sir Oswald's fortitude, we were talking about David Hanko earlier. So he's another guy that could have come in and doing the job as well. So I think there's still a really good player in Fabinho as long as he's helped in the middle of the park. He can't do it on his own. He's not capable of doing it on his own. He's not box to box. He's a central defensive midfielder. What he does is get himself into position to protect the back line and make interceptions and stuff. He can't do that if he's been outgunned and outmanned by 3 or 4 midfielders just barreling at him and they're just passing around him. And nobody can play that game, no matter how good you are in the world. There's no player on his own can defend the midfield.
It's like if you plunked Rodri in a Luton Town midfield or even an Everton team, bloody hell. He'd try his best, Rodri, same with Fabinho. But as we said, if we can facilitate those runners round Fabinho going to next season, you look at Szoboszlai, he's an athletic runner. McAllister can play that 6 role if needs be as well. Not ideal, but he's fully capable of playing that and the 8 and the 10. But if you've got runners around him, he's spot on, Kev, as you mentioned before. If you've got runners and you just say to Fabinho, right, just do the basic fundamentals, which he's very good at in terms of his reading of the game. Just say, right, lads, you've got runners around you, just focus on. It's not just what he does so well over the last 5 years when he's played on his top peak form. It's when he gets the ball as well. I've missed those balls over the top of an opposition team. It used to be just Trent, but let's not forget Fabinho, that one season where he chipped in with a load of goals, which was great for Liverpool, but that final ball as well, that's one aspect of Lavia's game that is really good as well. Those, in terms of ball retention, those last passes into the final third, he's really good at that as well. So, and under pressure, but yeah, for me, and even you look at in terms of when we spoke about players that are very adaptable, Fabinho can play right back and he can play, as Kev said, in that centre back hit crisis. He can play centre back if needs be as well. That's the last. But in terms of when you speak about the functionality of certain players, it's not just black and white in relation to they can only play in that 6 role. Fabinho can play a variety of positions as well, which is ideal, and it very much suits the squad as well for me. But I'm still hoping, and Fabinho is instrumental. Everyone speaks about Alisson last season, but let's not forget Fabinho was a massive cog in this Jurgen Klopp system to why we were playing so well, and I think he still can get back up to those levels. I hope, but we'll find out in the next couple of weeks as well.
What a headache to have, Jack, if we have him in Lavia.
Yeah.
Best kind of headache. But if it benefits Liverpool, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? If Fabinho can get back to his best, then, again, like, I think the whole conversation of, who's the best DM, I think last season, especially, obviously, going back of, that quadruple chasing season for Liverpool. But yeah, I think Jurgen Klopp has said previously, hasn't he, how a number 6 is crucial, especially certainly in his teams. I think, certainly after when we lost the Champions League final in Kiev, and I think Jurgen went in depth saying, of course, I love Jordan Henderson. I think Jordan Henderson's better as a 6, but there are better number 6s out there, and we got Fabinho, which at the time he probably was, when you looked on the DM market in Europe, was probably the best that you could, best quality you could ever get at the time as well. And look, how many times we said the last 3-4 years, guys, the fact that he's been doing a 3-man job in midfield, and he's been doing this season upon season upon season, and last season he got burnt out. But I think, like Kev said, it wasn't just him; it was the players around him as well that suffered as well.
Yeah.
But
when you've not got Fabinho thinking about other things, Con, it'll be sound. It'll be sound.
I can't hear you, Mackindo.
Oh, can you?
Okay, I can hear him.
Yeah,
okay. You keep cutting out for me. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of when, as we said, we'll notice a massive difference if Fabinho just focuses on his defensive due diligence, really, in terms of just doing what he can do best. He's a very special player. And I'm still hoping, as the thing with Liverpool fans, we get behind our players, of course. When the time comes, as we spoke about tonight, if it comes to it 6 months into this season, but if we do get a Lavia, then sound, we've got a potential understudy to come in now and very much overlap Fabinho in terms of the squad position and rotation, really. But yeah, it's a conundrum that is very good to have.
It's an integral role for Klopp. That position is very integral for Klopp. If we don't have the central defensive midfielder playing at a peak level, we'll suffer as a team. We've noticed that last season. It's how balls are passed straight through us, leaving the defence wide open, because they play wide from each other that the ball can just pass through the centre if the lads aren't on the ball in the midfield, and they really need to be. And if they're not on the ball, then we're kind of screwed that way, So
it's like we also said as well, though, and like you guys mentioned, is the fact if it does work, like Liverpool have got their DM for 10 years. Sorted. You look at Man United, even though Casemiro at the current moment in time, yeah, he's probably up there alongside Rodri. Again, that's not longevity. It's not proven, because again, Casemiro could fall off like Fabinho, for example, like last season, because he's working.
Injuries happen.
Yeah, no,
he was poor against the top 6 sides. Casemiro, he was very poor against the top 6 sides. He looked like a god compared to the middle table downwards, but he was poor against us. He was, even in the first game when it was the 2-1, he left a lot go through him there, even with us. We were just poor ourselves. So,
that second game at Anfield.
7-0. Dominated. Yeah, cup games, the whole lot. The last few seasons he's been dominated. Made a fool out of by City as well. Spurs have gone there to do him. It's just he's been great against teams that have been weak this season, but he's been poor against the top 6, really.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Anyway, but let's get into
average. I should say.
Barry saying hearing Lavia's asked to leave now. Interesting, of course. That was the conversation before we came on earlier
potentially.
Just taking a look at a little bit of a stat as well. Only for under 21, only Moises Caicedo won the ball back in the top 5 leagues, apparently, for under 21s, in the top 5 European
That's
leagues.
what I was saying before, lad. That's why he's the second understudy for me for Caicedo. The data's all there. It's crystal clear. 19 years old, and he's producing those numbers already. It's absolutely, quite frankly, ridiculous in terms of a good way. If he can grow and develop, but even better if he can get into our starting 11. Look at the age profile as well, though, boys, and chat. Like, if we can bring that age profile down, like, everyone waxes lyrical about Arsenal's young age, which is great, and they're matured as well. But that's what Liverpool done best. You look at when Liverpool were playing our peak level under Jurgen Klopp as well. The majority, when you look at the age profile of Mane, Salah, Jota, even at the age of 25 now, 26, like this, and Gakpo, bloody hell, 23, 24 years old. So if we can bring that age profile down, and if we can actually start winning, then that's where we go into the realms of exciting times ahead, because there's nothing better. Like, building a team that is capable of winning at a young age, then very special. I think Man City would be interesting in terms of their midfield profile, their age. Gundogan's left, De Bruyne's 30 odd, very talented player, but it's going to be interesting how they do develop their midfield in terms of long term.
Well, they have
That's a lot. There's a lot of creativity gone there. A lot.
They haven't started neither. When you
especially if Bernardo leaves as well, and a lot of their players.
I was about to say, like, you look at the players that have gone, they haven't really started in the transfer market yet. I know they've got Kovacic, but
he's 29, 30, isn't he?
Yeah,
so,
but you look at the midfielders, of course. I think they are going to be getting, or trying to get anyway, Gabri Vega. But then also in saying that, he struggled massively in that European final when you look back.
Right, Jones dropped him left, right, and centre anyway, so it's all good.
Hello, Ricky, as well. I know it's you from that comment as well. But I think we'll be surprised by Fab. He'll have energy around him this season as well, says Wiggs. Our last Slovakian centre back was Martin Skrtel. So for Hanko, the track record is good.
I love Skrtel. Don't get me wrong, he's very rash, but what a cool hero, to say the least. Anyway, I remember that goal against obviously Arsenal, that mad game. Yeah, it was a mad 30, 15, 20 minutes. Like,
it was his last goal, wasn't it?
Was it?
The volley was at the volley no, that was against Man City. Was his last goal. Sorry, I'm getting it wrong, but yeah, I remember the double header against Arsenal. Was it?
Yeah, he always scored a banger as well, mate. He's quite good with the ball on his feet. But yeah, I love Skrtel. I really loved him.
He always scored I swear he scored more on goals than he did
proper goals. He was nasty as well, though. If you met him in a dark alley, you'd be very petrified anyway.
You see him now, though, he looks completely different, doesn't he? He's got the spiky hair. He looks all clean.
He's got hair,
yeah.
Hello, Aventure, as well. Obviously, Aventure asks, am I correct in saying Liverpool needed investment for the signing of Szoboszlai? If so, it's a huge concern. We need a DM, a centre back, and right back. But if we need investment, does that mean money isn't available? As far as I know, there wasn't any needed. I think the only questionable thing was whether or not Liverpool were going to do installments with a third party and then pay them off instead of paying up front. But it was up front. I think Neil Jones, confirmed that. So
yeah,
I don't think there's any problems.
I mean, we're football fans at the end of the day. Liverpool have got the player in. Us fans, as long as they sign for Liverpool Football Club, as long as they're not crippling is in debt, but they're not. But and it's why with the new stands, the facilities, and the infrastructure is massively there for Liverpool. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say I know the great financials, because I don't. I'm a bloody football fan at the end of the day. Better people out there that are better placed, better degrees in finances anyway. But yeah, Liverpool have got the business over the line. Let's just look at Chelsea, everyone. Like, they've massively... There's loopholes in the system as well, hence why Chelsea are doing it. They're offering 10, 8-year contracts. So if there's ways around it, and Liverpool, we've got him, he signed on the official website. So if it needs, at the end of the day, he's playing for Liverpool, and that'd be quickly forgotten anyway. But to say that Liverpool is skint, they're not. We know where.
You have to look at last season, Jack. This because the money last season we wasn't invested is because they didn't borrow against the stadium rebuild. You know, that comes out of what money comes into the club, which is the fans, the tickets and stuff like that. That's what it says on the dockets. So that's why there wasn't a big major overhaul last season. You know, Klopp was the owners are like, can you last a couple of windows and see how you get on? You know, and Klopp was probably convinced that the lads would be able to do it again, but you know, you know, like to lose Milner or to lose Henderson's legs at the same time, Curtis Jones injured, Oxford Abbey were always injury doubts, and then you know to have Thiago constantly going as well. That's too many injuries for any team to take. But if all those guys were fit, you know, we definitely would have been top four. 100% we would have gotten top four. Like there's because if you look at it, Manchester United did not improve last season. I don't care what trophy they win. Any team that's worth their salt can go and win a League Cup or an FA Cup within a few seasons of their last one, you know, within let's say 6 to 10 years or something like that. So there's no doubt in my mind that an average Manchester United team can go and win a League Cup. They're capable of. It's the opposition that you come across. You can get a lucky run. You can get whatever you want. But they finished 13 points below where they were the previous season. They didn't, and that was under Ranić and with Ronaldo. They didn't improve at all. Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool, who else? Even City themselves dropped off. And even though they won the treble last season, they still dropped off from where they were. Arsenal, Brighton, and Newcastle vastly improved. And Aston Villa the last 6 months of the season or the last 4 months of the season vastly improved. So everybody else just kind of stayed static and didn't do much of anything. And that's where you know, look at Spurs. Spurs were in the top four for 3/4 of the bloody season without doing anything.
Felt like about 20 years. Spurs kept on losing, but they were in top four. I was like, what are you doing?
It's just that's where you got to look at it, lads. Once we improve our squad, we're better than these teams, and that's where we're going to end up is above these. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. We've improved more than United have this season, and this time we have a bigger window. I mean, remember, guys, the season before, 63 games, a 3-week turnover, no rest. Starting again on July 6th or 7th, 6th the last time, or 7th or something like that. 7th was our first game, I think. We actually started a bit before that. And that's way too soon for any team. And then we played 6 more games in a preseason than City or something like that. They only played 2. So, you know, it just goes to show what a whole summer's rest can do for a team like Liverpool.
It's going to be fascinating, the least as a neutral, as to watch Newcastle and Arsenal squirm and excuses after they've been blasting Jurgen for the last 5 years. But every top elite level manager
Saturday
in Europe,
12 kickoff. Saturday 12 kickoff. We can't be having that, like.
Yeah, and then you'll have the Geordies, you'll have obviously all the Gunners as well going. They'll literally be coming out with the excuses that, of course, we've said for the last couple of years. But it is a thing, as Kev's alluded to, there's a fatigue. But I think in relation to Liverpool bringing it back to us, Everton will be quickly forgotten about as soon as Liverpool start winning games of football. I will tell you that now. And if Liverpool go on a run, hopefully at the beginning of the season, start banging in, everyone settles in quite quick, even if we do get Labby or even better, 1 or 2 players in. Let's not forget the window's still a long way open still. So we got a long way to go. But yeah, it looked rosy. Obviously, there's still work to do in the transfer window, but I tell you that now, lads and ladies as well. As soon as Liverpool start winning games of football, Everton, all the noise will quickly be getting forgotten.
Disappear.
And Manchester City, that's when City go.
I think City drop off this season, Jack. I know they've won it, and Pep will want to win it again and again and again, but I think they'll drop off in their mindset this season. I think Newcastle will struggle. I think Arsenal will struggle with the Champions League. I think Brighton will struggle with the Europa League because they're not used to playing these European games, and they're going to struggle.
If the rumours are true about Kevin De Bruyne as well and the 12 injections he had towards the end of last season, that's a big thing for City and De Bruyne, because I think the rumours is at the moment he will start the season, but there's always the chance of him then getting injured for 2-3 months, even potentially as well. And again, you look at, we spoke about it, 5 minutes ago, in terms of City haven't really added to the midfield yet. Of course, they could do, and they probably will do before the window is shut. But again, it's not necessarily that things are going to click. You look at, City fans constantly going about, it took a year for this player to work out and this player to work out. It's like, again, it might take somebody a year or two before they become what Pep Guardiola wants him to be in that City squad as well. But go on, Jack, what was I going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Will, it's only human nature as well. You look at all the top sides, and no, City, fantastic. That's not us saying at all. They are the benchmark. They have been for the last 5-6 years under Guardiola. That's why Guardiola's the best in recent years in terms of management. I don't think he's the best ever Premier League manager. I think Fergie tops him. But let's not forget, like, that's what Guardiola's so good at. And he gets his team to go again. Hence why City have won the leagues they have over recent seasons. But it's only human nature as well. If you're a professional footballer and you just won absolutely everything last season, they might have that less 5-10%, but if Liverpool have that extra 5-10-20% this season, I think it's small margins, and as we know, it's even been a point. But if you're just not slightly on it, but I think that massively, our players were pissed off last season. The fan base was as well. But if you tell these players, they're not going to be happy they're missing Champions League. You would just watch Manchester City win the Champions League, and that was one thing that the players themselves had over certain City players as well. But that's gone, and City now, especially if they're fully capable of winning consecutive Champions Leagues. But Liverpool, we need to be getting back into that contention. And if it is a City-Liverpool Champions League final, bloody hell, what a big game that would have been. It would have happened the year before last if Real Madrid didn't do the unthinkable and City didn't bottle it. But
what was it, the 1% chance in 1 minute? No.
Yeah, but even going to live an adventure, even when he says about the money wise, just for that point, it's not that Liverpool don't have the money or whatever. It's just Liverpool as a club are run to spend their profit. Yeah, they're not like these guys. They just won't go out and put themselves in debt for it. You know, it's not the way they work. They will sell to buy, and that's by choice. And it's not because we have to. It's just that's the way it is. I mean, there's 225 million every couple of years that come in from that Nike deal. There's massive influx of money, but it's just a matter of and the owners aren't taking that profit because there was only a 7 million profit last year, which is the most that we've had post COVID, compared to like 100 million that was pre-COVID at one point where we could spend that money. So 7 million was our overall net profit last season. So you go spend that. The guys are putting themselves in debt, but they're hoping that they're doing it against the ticket sales and against the shirt sales for the coming season. So it's just regulatory debt. So it's not something that we're putting ourselves into for like a bank or something like that. Like United own like nearly 600 million or something like that, you know. So yeah, that's the way we work.
Just to answer Scouse's comment. No, it's not a pot noodle. It's a pot noodle mug, but it's not a pot noodle. It's got, I think, what's going on? Got mango juice in it at the minute. So yeah, that's, if you guys want to see it, you can see it if you want to. Anyway, but let's talk about the same. Two as well said Panos. Well, no, it's got mango squash currently at the minute. But we won the Champions League and didn't have money apparently. Won the league and COVID happened. Hampered us. Sorry, but it was just seemed what. Ever the situation, we are not able to bring in players in all areas needed as well. I think that's always been the case, though.
Let's just not forget. Fair enough, if we had an absolutely the squad that Klopp inherited, like Christ, is Hendo the only survivor of that team? That needed surgery well and truly, in that. But now, when Liverpool were in top form, there was very limited players that would have been in Europe that would have come in, similar with City. You're talking about that 0.1% player that could come in and really get into the starting 11. But when you look at terms of tactically, when Liverpool were playing our peak, the engine room was our midfield. But then you look at the defence and the attack was so good. But of course, there's always room to improve in every form of life. There's always that new shiny toy down the road if you want to get it. But the good thing that Liverpool, and as we spoke about, I think if there's a player, Tchouaméni, by all accounts, Liverpool wanted him. We got turned down. It's not a case that Liverpool didn't have the money. It was a case we got turned down. So Liverpool were actively trying to get Tchouaméni. What Liverpool should have done, and what every Liverpool fan agrees, is then sound. If you can't get Tchouaméni, then get your second or third choice option. Because in football, not everyone is available unless they have a buyout, like we've just done with Szoboszlai, McAllister. Certain clubs are just very difficult to deal with. And every club, especially outside the Premier League, everyone knows if you're a Premier League club coming in for any of those players in Europe, they're whacking an extra 20-30% on their value because you look at the prices, it's silly prices getting branded around Europe anyway at the minute.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Is that I'm reading on Twitter there about Ivan Schwarzkopf that I think Lavia's agreed personal terms, but then mind him.
Yeah.
See, I thought I was looking at the name first. I was like, "What the hell is that?" So
It's
yeah,
not.
no,
It's not true. It's not true.
it's
Yeah,
not. Okay,
no.
and yeah, Andrew said it as well. No, but it's
But yeah, let me read out the last few comments then before we do head off because we're going for an hour and 10 minutes, and I've just been told I need to hurry up as well.
Pretty good. Not by me and Kev. We're going for another hour, lad.
Ready.
Newcastle.
You can take off if you want, Con. We look after the lads. How are you?
I don't trust UK.
I have the power.
I don't trust.
I don't. To be fair, I don't trust him neither.
At least point in the right direction, lad. Lane you left to right. There you go.
Get off my fucking stream.
Let me in. There we go.
It's only when it's Wiggs. It's only when I read the name at the end of what that was because it didn't show his name first. That's right. The minute I spotted, it goes, never mind.
Yeah, Mr. Waffle. Anyway.
Yeah, it's again. I think him and Indy Calla is the.
Oh, no, exactly. Yeah.
It's,
as you say, if you throw enough rubbish at the wall, eventually something's going to stick anyway. So,
I haven't Waffle. Yeah, there's a little bit. Keep going, lads, as well. I wish I could, but again, I have been told that I
just remove yourself from the studio, and me and Con will just, me and Kev will talk to the chat anyway, and you can come back when you're ready.
I can't do that. I've been told I gotta go.
Saying that, just
breaking news. Like I could probably put on the accent, couldn't I? I say.
Go on. You need to see it.
Here in the valley.
Okay. It's time to go. Hello, go. God's sake. Anyway, if you do like the channel, there we go. The stream. I just want like you, Kev. As well, I should say love you as well. That's what
I love me too.
Anyway, but obviously, guys, big thank you to all of you guys for tuning in to tonight's show. I have massively enjoyed it as well. Obviously, big thank you to Jack and to Kev as well. Please go and subscribe. Obviously, over to Anfield Road TV, the Kit Men, and of course, Spider LFC as well. Obviously, mods. If there is any mods in your place that are like, hit the like button. Obviously, hit the get people's links in the comments as well. Very much appreciated. As always, obviously, big saying, Jack, get on your channel if you can.
Wigs are wood, but there's some banging salt and pepper chicken looking at directly at me. That's gonna go right in my belly. But yeah, no, Wigs will be live tomorrow. Obviously, it would have been on tonight, mate, but we've had a couple of pods that we've recorded prior to.
He's going to be on PlayStation with me in a minute going. You eating, Jack?
People stream that on Twitch. Like people, like thousands of people just watching people eat. If you want to see that, I might go live.
Oh, the what's that? The SMR. What's that thing?
There's other things we've spoken about before in the past where like that's not safe for Twitch.
But you never know. It's all right. You won't find me in a hot tub stream. You never know. If we want to celebrate winning the league, then that's certainly something we could organise. But yeah, that's definitely not something people want to see. But if we win the league, I think we'll do. Plenty of things on stream.
Yeah, I'll jump in I'll jump in a hot tub of mud. Yeah, just banging in, not a bother. Win the league. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Liverpool, if you want to see that, please win the league. And then might do something.
Liverpool can sponsor us as well if they want.
Yeah, if you want
it'd be the most Jack Black thing you'll ever see on the stream. It'll just be me going.
What is it? We win the league. See City get knocked out of the Champions League, and we're laughing. Happy days. Oh, good.
That'd be a perfect season. Anyway, but guys, big thank you to all of you guys as well. Obviously, if anyone does want to join, as well, I should have said this before the start of the stream. As well, if anyone does want to join as a new member, of course you can do. Again, nothing's going to change on the channel at all. But of course, if you'd like to become a member, then please do as well. Anyway, But obviously, big thank you to Jack, big thank you to Kev as well. We'll be back tomorrow as well at 9 o'clock. Of course, hopefully, we'll see a few photos of the new boys. Of course,
The boys are back. I'll tell you what, it's going to be media galore. We're going to be giving. So shout out Liverpool's media team. They'll be very busy tomorrow, as we know. They'll be Jurgen Klopp hugging everyone.
I'd love one of those, man. As I said, I go to Munich in a couple of weeks, and if I can get a couple of pictures or something with Jurgen Klopp, I can get a hug off Jurgen Klopp. I'd love it. And I'm a grown ass man, and I would still love a hug off of Jurgen Klopp, man. Anybody who gets that, it's like kissing the blarney stone. It's just gifted a gab. Just good luck for life, like, you know. That's what it is. So.
I just want to hang out with Ibu as well. Ibu's always laughing. I'd love it. He probably wouldn't even understand me. But apart from that, I love Ibu. Like, even Robbo, imagine going on.
Robbo, Robbo would be good.
Going out a couple of bevies with him. Like, that would be fun.
Right. Well, guys, obviously, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please hit that subscribe button as well. If you do like this type of content, if you like us rattling on, maybe we should do like a 12-hour stream where we just
chat and bear one, mate. Yeah, that's what we do best anyway. So
that's what we should do anyway. But of course, until next time, guys, that's gonna be it from us. I've been Connor from the Co-Council. They've been the annoying pair as usual. I love them too, really. But of course, obviously, big thank you to both. And of course, guys, please stay safe, please stay well, and of course, see you tomorrow. Sarah.